FX Nation, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. And in this video guys, I'm going to go ahead and answer some questions that are pretty common that I get asked all the time. So the questions are simply about continuation trades in the New York session, about type 3 setups, and then also about trading out of the edge. And what are some of the key features of that particular trade? All right, so without further ado, guys, let's get right into these questions and let's hopefully provide some value to you guys.
Yeah, I had one question, Mark. Based on one of the feedback you gave me on the test, I didn't know we could consider a leg in Asia as well for the patterns.
Mm-hmm.
Can you kind of run over that briefly?
Yeah. So it's basically going to come down to this. Most important aspect of trading this is that the second leg has to be in either the London or the New York session. So the first leg, I don't care where it's at. It's the second leg that really matters, right? So the second leg has to be in London or in New York session. So you could have a first leg, so like this one here, for example, where you have a first leg in the Asian session right here, and then a second leg in the London session. Typically, most of the time, what you'll find, I would say probably 80% of the time, is that when this happens, you're going to have the first leg in Asia, second leg is going to be in London, typically by 3:45 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. So the very beginning of Asia, because they've pretty much had time to work the middle of the M formation. So, if you're looking for, let's say, just an M, from the time that this first leg to the second leg, this middle section here has already been worked through the Asian session. So it's ready to pop off at the beginning of the London session. So it doesn't happen very often. They do occur, obviously. I think that they're more obvious on some pairs rather than others. So as you back test and as you get to know your specific pairs, you'll notice whether or not that pair is something that does, or is one that does one of those particular setups.
Okay.
Just like um, on type 3 setups, you're going to have type 3 setups that have only one leg, and that's completely fine and normal. Most of my type 3 setups that I take are literally one-legged setups. They're not two-legged setups. All right. So those two things are hugely important. Type 3 setups don't always come with a second leg to them. That's completely fine. And then you'll obviously see, first leg, Asian session, second leg. Typically, more than majority of the time, it'll be the beginning of the London session. And you see the second leg if the first leg is in that Asian session.
Mark, it's Ignis. Just want to confirm something. Trading to the 50 EMA, so that's only in the US session if we do get a setup, and it's heading towards the 50 EMA. Is that? Don't understand that. I understand it, but I just want to confirm. We only trade to the 50 EMA because of volatility during the US session.
Yeah. So typically when you have a trade setup where you can use the EMAs in your favor, meaning that you can use them as take profits, you're generally going to go to the 50. That's literally where freaking like 85% of the time price will go to the 50 and then stop and then consolidate for the rest of the day. Of course, there's going to be some times where let's say if you're at, coming off of a level 3 or something like that, it's going to go below, way well past the 50 EMA. So there's going to be specific times when that actually happens, but you're going to have to be in an area to where, price wants to push past that. And typically we find that, typically level 1, or coming off of a peak formation high or low.
Okay, thanks.
But yeah, most of the time you'll see it just goes to the 50 literally, and then it just stops. It's like, I don't know, man. That's just what it does all the time. So if you have, the EMAs in your favor, then that's typically what you'll find. This is very common. So a lot of times in the US session, you're going to be aiming towards, more likely towards 20 pips than 30. Unless it's like news induced or something like that, then it'll be something different. But most of the time, you're looking for those reversal trades that are in the U.S. session. So like trades like this, for example, those will get you about 20 pips or so. If you're looking obviously at continuation trades, so basically a move that continues on from what happened during London. So if you have, let's say the U.S. session, let's say the Asian session, let's say the London, and then the U.S. session here. If you have a continuation trade, you're going to have, let's say, a move that happens really strong in London and then pulls back, and then the U.S. session box is somewhere like right here. And then you'll have a continuation trade that moves up. Typically, you would want to get a pin to the 50 EMA here as a good confirmation. And then you obviously want to be well, above the below the high or the low, because the whole point of a continuation trade is you're saying to yourself like, we're too far off the high of the day or the low of the day to take a reversal trade, right? So you're too far from this high to be able to do this. So you're looking for this. And all it is basically this, this, and this. And there's your trade for the New York session. This pretty much happens during London. And then this area here happens typically around 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning.
So just to repeat what you just said, if you say a bit too far to do, it means the M in this example would be kind of skewed, and your stop losses would not work out. That's why you rather will be looking for a continuation, correct?
Right, exactly. Yeah, it wouldn't make sense for you to take a trade on a sell here because your stop loss is just too big. It just doesn't make sense. You're let's say 20 pips plus more away from the high of the day.
Right.
And you notice that during London session, you made a straight move up in this case. And then you made a small retracement from like 7 to 8 o'clock is the prime time to do it. So like for me, like this right here is a continuation trade because you had a huge move that happened from from Asia all the way to London, and then you had a pullback right at the beginning of the U.S. session, and then you end up getting that pattern that I talk about, which is a bar, 2 candles, and then a bar right there.
Yeah.
And it's also now pinning to the EMAs as well and to the middle of the range, and you get a fucking W. I don't know how many confirmations you need. You know what I mean?
I know that this particular example.
There's a lot of confirmations there that you would want. So you don't want to take, so like this right here, You don't want to take this because this is too late in the session. Unless you have 2 p.m. FOMC news that comes out that's going to be favorable in your decision, then that's going to help you push up the price. But unless that happens, then you're not going to get a lot of movement after 12 o'clock.
That's a good point. One of my other questions also, thanks. I wanted to ask you about the timing, because you also mentioned especially I think this trade you mentioned, it's a bit too late, but thanks for explaining that.
Yeah, so the boxes themselves, if you think about them, the boxes are here because over an extended period of time, and I keep saying the same stuff over and over again because that's just what it is. Over an extended period of time of 1 to 2 years, right? This box represents the primary session or the primary time where the setups that you actually want to trade are going to happen.
I've noticed that. Yes.
That doesn't mean that there's going to be setups that appear after the box. Of course, there's going to be setups that appear before the box, right? But over an extended period of time, those setups are going to be very small, and they're not going to always give you, the wins that we're talking about over an extended period of time. So I can't stress that enough. Everything that I do is over an extended period of time. It's not just based off of a month or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everything that I'm telling you is something that I've tested that happens literally over an extended period of time, over 2-3 years. That's the best box that I found that works the most, that gives you the best possible setups. And so you have to understand that we're not looking for just every possible M and W that we can trade that happens in the box. We want to make sure that we take the best possible trades. So like a type 3 like this here, these are the kind of trades that you'd want to take, or these type 3s here. This is a one-legged type 3, but it has that pattern that I talk about. It's pinning to the 50. You have the TDI also at the 50 as well, getting rejected.
I got that. Thank you. And my backtesting also, totally the UK session is where the setup happens, and either reversal or consolidation in the US.
Yeah, so obviously everybody's schedule is different. So if you can trade the London session, then you're pretty much going to be open to a lot of different things. If you're trading just, let's say, the US session, then you're pretty much going to be limited to probably most likely continuation trades or reversals. That's what pretty much you're going to be limited to. You might get at times where the London session goes like literally completely sideways, and then during the US session is when it goes. You might get something like that. But the majority of the time in the US session, you're going to be looking at continuation trades or literally reversals, from either the low or the high of the day.
I got that. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I hope answering some of those questions that I get asked on a lot are able to bring some light into the things that I'm looking at, or the things that I look for in those particular trade setups. If you like this kind of content, these kind of Q&A type of scenarios, let me know in the comments, like the video. Of course, if you need any more help, last class ever, May 3rd, is about to start very soon. So if you need any help with that, links are in the description for that. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your week.